2:07. Helen Farmer with you. Text lines are open if you want to get in touch. If you want to give a bit of a shout out to a policy in your workplace. It's Global Parent Day as well, and we're talking about the importance of going above and beyond. Workplaces, of course, always competing for talent, but salary is not always the number one thing that employers are looking at. Increasingly, we care about how our employer is going to support us through some of life's biggest moments. Maybe that is becoming a parent or caring for family members. Today is Global Day of Parents, and Transguard Group are in the studio. They've announced the introduction of adoption and guardianship leave for employees, alongside existing maternity leave policy that exceeds the UA legal requirements. So we're talking about what a genuinely family-friendly workplace looks like in 2026. And is supporting staff good for business too? CFO Nick Beer is with us today, and Director of Human Resources Rachel Tatunji. So we are... I'm jealous is the long and short of it, guys, because I feel like, so if I think back to 10 years ago, what did I need as a new mum? And it was more time, it was more understanding, it was more support. So Rachel, what prompted this decision to introduce, and we're going to talk more general parent friendly, but adoption and guardianship leave at this point?
Well, it's the family first positioning has been something that we've been working on for years now. The UAE is very much positioned itself as a family-friendly place to both live and work, and we wanted to make sure that our policies match that. So the work's been going on for some time. I think in terms of the adoption and guardianship leave, it was building on what we'd done with maternity leave. So our maternity leave was enhanced last year. And there was also some significant changes in legislation at the end of last year around guardianship or fostering in the UAE. So we wanted to make sure that we had a framework in place for that.
So just reflecting the modern needs of a modern family
exactly.
in the year. And of course, it's Year of the Family as well.
It is,
yeah. I do want to talk about what it kind of looks like in practice. But Nick, from a business perspective, why do you think investing in family-friendly policies is worth doing?
I mean, I think for us, and again, I think this journey started probably 4 years ago. We had a new CEO join who is a big family man, wife, children. And I think at the time we wanted to differentiate ourselves a little bit. And I think for all of us who have got children, albeit mine are a bit older now, as you said earlier, time is something that if you sit back and 10 years later, you see, I wish I'd spent more time with my kids, or I wish I had more time to bond with my kids. And so, we collectively decided that was really important to us as a business. And again, it's not just salary, it's not just work, workplace culture, but it's happiness. And I think that's key for us.
It is. And I think, for it's funny you kind of choose the word culture there, because sometimes that can feel like a very box ticky exercise, and you put something on a website and, think really job done. It's not. No. But what's interesting there is, talking about someone coming in who is family first and is vocal about that, because I think in some ways that gives employees permission to say, I need time, or I need more time, or this is a priority, or can I go to the sports day? And if you've got someone in a position of leadership who is open about that, saying, I'm taking my son to the dentist today, or I need to work remotely for a week because my mum's not very well. Yeah. There becomes a psychological safety about it for the rest of the company.
I remember Rabir coming into the first leadership team meeting, actually, and it was the first thing that he talked about, is that he expected families to come first. That was his introductory talk.
And everyone's like, Yeah. But I think it's especially important when you are in an expat destination, that it's this idea that your workplace isn't just somewhere where you go to earn and you spend your time. It's this idea of, okay, it's a bit of a safety net as well, Nick.
And I think, also similar conversations is when, if we want to be, an employer of choice, if we want to be, a good, strong mix of men, women, in the business, we have to appreciate also that everyone has different priorities, and no one's priorities are more important than anyone else's. And as you said, if someone needs to go to the dentist, someone needs to pick up their kid from school, someone's kid's getting a prize, that should be fine. Take a couple of hours off. We all work hard enough. We know the environment here is a hard-working environment. So, and I think the big element as well with Rabia coming in and the cultural change was trust is massive for us. And if we trust our staff, then it doesn't matter what they go and do.
And I think that's become such an interesting conversation post-pandemic as well, as if you've got the right people and if you are getting the outcomes that you desire as a company and they are being developed as individuals, then this idea of, here is your timesheet, here is your log in, log out, it does start to get a bit patronising. If you've employed the right people, that trust is there, and the workers are going to get done, then let's all be grown-ups. And I think this is the first leave I've heard, Rachel, around adoption and guardianship. And as you said, it is very much reflective of changes in policies and different pathways to parenthood here in the UAE. And it has been overlooked up to this point. What's the reaction been like? I know it's very recent news.
I mean, this is launch day, so it's an exciting day. And I am so happy to see the very fast and very positive response we've had to this. It's encouraging because ultimately our aim is to ensure this is endorsed beyond Transguard, that this is something else that companies aim to do. And of course, the ideal scenario will be that it's built into legislation at a later date. But for us, our talk around labour law has always been that it's a safety net, that it's a baseline, that we want to go over and above. And I'd encourage any HR departments and organisations to do the same. So we're really excited with the response to this.
I think what it shows is that it can be done. I think this is the idea of it being aspirational, and we can talk about the logistics. Obviously, you're a larger company than many, and it's probably more difficult if you're an SME to be talking about that. But I think what it shows is, if you want to, you can. That as you to borrow your word there, Rachel, the UAE labour law is a baseline, and whether you are someone who's employing a helper at home and you want to make sure that they're getting a break over Eid, whether you are a small company who wants to, have personalised benefits for their employees, or you're a big company like Transguard Group who is kind of setting the standard, then we can all do better. So we're going to talk about some of the logistics, how it's going to look like in practice, who's eligible, and of course, what do we hope for the attraction and retention of talent in this jobs market. We're also going to be hearing from Tenji Moyo, who's been in touch about what the UAE law says about parental leave. Please do reach out 4001 if you've got any questions. Joining us from Transguard Group in the studio, we've got Rachel and Nick, and usual number applies 4001.
Dubai Eye 103.8 traffic.
Sponsored by Yas Island Abu Dhabi. Too hot? Too bored? Too lazy to plan? The answer is yes. Book your Kids Go free package now at yasisland.com.
It is 2:15. Zina's Almeya in the studio. How are the roads looking?
Hey, Helen, it's supposed to be busy, but it's not. It's not that busy.
You say it like you're sad.
I know, but I know a few parents who are not back in town yet. A few families, because the flights are cheaper. I don't know. They come back on a Monday. But so, not very busy at the moment. There's slow-moving traffic if you're heading towards Sharjah on the E311. That's Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Road from, let's say, Mohaisna all the way to the border. Other than that, all looking great. And to all the parents out there doing the school run, that means you work for great companies. They allow you to do that.
You've got the flexibility. Kudos.
This is Dubai Eye 103.8.
I am still replying to people who've been getting in touch wanting information of our previous guests around all things health, talking about not PCOS but PMOS. Dr. Nana from Health Bay, and we had Georgie from It's a PCOS Party, who is still debating changing her Instagram handle. But if you want to send me the word connect, I will send you both of their details right now. Lovely to have you with us. It's 21 minutes past 2, and I just want to share that we are rediscovering all of the UAE, Dubai Eye 103.8, and all the channels in the ARN family down the corridor. We're sending 2,000 listeners on staycations across the UAE. So, of course, celebrating the world-class hospitality that's well and truly spoilt me in my travels forever. The outstanding service that we have here. So this is beach resorts, island hideaways, desert retreats, city escapes. So we're encouraging everyone to get out and explore and enjoy what's on offer. So you need to keep listening next week for your chance to win an unforgettable stay. So get those bags packed, get the car started, get your snacks ready, and get ready to uncover some hidden gem hotels everywhere. Rediscovering the UAE is powered by Aura Loyalty Programme. Can't wait to make you a winner. We are talking about the workplace, about how we can go above and beyond. Tanji Moya is an employment lawyer with Gately Middle East, and this is what the UAE law says about parental leave.
Under the UAE labour law, the parental leave is 5 working days, 5 paid working days, and this should be taken within 6 months of the child's birth. However, what we are seeing in practice is more and more companies giving more enhanced benefits. We see companies giving 10, 14 days, and this is parental leave that can be taken over and above the standard statutory maternity leave. So we are seeing more enhancement when it comes to a leave for parents who decide to adopt or need leave for guardianship leave.
And that's for mothers is on top of that 60-day maternity leave they're entitled to. So we do spend a lot of time talking about flexible working, about burnout, about employee well-being in recent years. And I do truly think that when it comes to supporting parents, many workplaces have a lot of room for improvement. So we're looking at what happens when companies go beyond those minimum requirements and how policies around maternity, paternity, adoption, guardianship leave, which just got announced today by Transguard Group. Nick Beers in the studio, CFO, and we've got Director of Human Resources, Rachel Tatunji, to talk about this news policy and the wider conversation about supporting working families. Now, Rachel, as we've said, this is very much reflecting, of course, the UAE's year of the family and some changing policies around fostering an adoption here. And what really caught my eye when I heard that you'd introduced this policy is that it's not just for your C-suite. No. It's not just for people that have served 5 years with Transguard Group. It is for all employees of all levels. How many people are part of the Transguard Group family?
We have 80,000 staff. So I remember our chief of security, Tim Mundell, telling me once it's bigger than the British Army, which really stuck with me. So it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of people impacted by the decisions that we make when it comes to policies.
I know this might sound like a really obvious question, but why did you want to make sure that everyone had the availability, the option, the availability of this policy? Why is that such an important part of the message as well?
We spend a lot of time as a leadership team talking about what's the right thing to do. So it's not necessarily a commercial decision. It's not one we have to do legally. It's not even one that we have to do when it comes to employee engagement. So our engagement is excellent year on year. It increases, so 96%, 97% of people are really happy and proud to work at Transguard. So it's not about engagement and it's not about attrition. Our attrition is, in fact, it's healthy, but it's very low. It's the right thing to do.
And I think we've made a decision over the last 4 years that every year we want to improve the lives and the standards of all of our staff, from whatever that may look like. That might be something tiny, that might be something big like the adoption and guardianship leave, but we want every year, we sit there, we come up with ideas, and some may or may not be commercially viable, but the idea is that every year we improve their lives.
And I think I'm sure there's something very personal for you both about that, about being proud of where you work, and as we've said, a few times during this conversation, going above and beyond for the right reasons. But it's also reputationally really, really powerful. Dubai is a big place, but it's also a village, and when a company or a leader has a good reputation, that it carries weight. Good news travels fast, bad news travels faster. And I know that staff retention is, of course, going to be important from a logistical point of view, from a commercial point of view, in terms of, visa costs and training costs and all that kind of stuff, Rachel, that you thankfully take care of and many of us don't need to know about. But it is also about having somewhere that people are proud to work at.
I agree. And I think even if the policy doesn't impact somebody personally, it still means a lot to them when they see their colleagues being treated well.
Absolutely. Nick, though, as CFO, were there any conversations about the costs, about the logistics or operational challenges that made you go, I'm just going to mute myself on this Zoom?
Rachel and I have a lot of conversations about a lot of things. And I think, my view with all of this is, if it's the right thing to do, there shouldn't be any barriers to us doing it. Yeah. And, obviously we're a business and if we don't make money, we can't employ 80,000 people. So there's obviously a balance. But our view as a leadership team is let's find the money. So what do we need to do if I need to balance the books, right? What do I need to do? How can we make more money to allow us to then do that. And some of the decisions we've made don't enhance profit. But, again, as a business, and as the right thing to do, as Rachel keeps coming back to, it's the right thing to do. So we're happy to do it.
And what you hope is that this then fosters a culture that makes people proud and productive and loyal, which ultimately does have that effect.
And does raise the bar for other organisations.
Exactly right, exactly.
It's important.
Rachel, kind of speaking as a mum, and as I said earlier, well, to be completely frank, I had about 3 months off when I had our first daughter.
Yeah.
And I was actually ready to go back. I was working in magazines at the time. There was a title that I really wanted to kind of get my teeth stuck into. And then it was only when she got to about a year old and I felt like I was missing those moments of oh, is she going to say the first word? Oh, am I going to be at work and our nanny's going to see that first step? That's when I took a step back and worked for myself. And it was an incredibly difficult conversation and an incredibly difficult decision, ultimately one that I don't regret. But I wondered, when people come to you as new parents, what are some of the challenges that they face? And there are going to be logistical, practical solutions and support that you put in place as Director of HR, but there's also the emotional side as well, and people feeling psychologically safe enough to come to you. How are we seeing that kind of being fostered, not just within Transguard Group, but also perhaps in a more wider sense with HR as well?
Well, I think discussions like this, the conversations that it's okay to feel like this, that it, being at home for your children for a reasonable time is a valid want.
And it's going to be different for different people.
Yeah, but I'm the same. I remember leaving my daughter when she was 2 months old because my company didn't have anything over and above what was legally required, and there's so little. So they're tiny. So
I had to stop breastfeeding because there was nowhere for me to, pump milk at work. Like that was it. I would say that decision feels like it was taken away from me, and there was a, grief.
It's hard.
Yeah,
there's definitely a grief.
Yeah.
So our maternity leave is a lot longer. We have 60 days full pay, and then we have another 25 days half pay. And then on top of that, we really encourage people to combine it with their annual leave. People can take unpaid leave. Our doors are very much open to that discussion.
What about the dads? Why is it just important to support the fathers and not just the mothers?
I mean, I think that I didn't have the benefit of growing up with my children for a number of reasons, and I think when I look back at the sports days I might have missed, the parents' evenings I might have missed, which may or may not have been great news for my children, but nonetheless, who knows? And the sporting events, and with my kids going to school in the UK, I think my view is I don't want other parents, fathers to miss out on those things. And I think, your kids don't forget. And it's quite nice to be able to go to the school concert and we have, and that's, I agree with the kind of mothers, fathers, it's the same thing. It's no different. Everyone wants to see their child singing some awful song somewhere, whatever it might be, right? But you're still proud.
Exactly, and have that little face light up when they see you in the audience. And it's not just about parents either. I think it's kind of even broader than that. It is about care. It might be about chronic illness. And I think a lot of it is just having an understanding that companies need to understand that when you employ someone, you employ a whole person. You don't just rent their time for the day and you get an output out of them, because when people do feel cared for, listened to, supported, ultimately everyone benefits. And Rachel, if any other organisation is listening now, anyone who works in leadership in HR, and they're wondering where to start, if they're going, okay, it's easy for them, they've got 80,000 employees and they've got a legacy in the UAE, but if they want to have one conversation or do one thing that could help them be more supportive, where would you?
I think there's so many different things you can do. So obviously we've enhanced the maternity leave, we've introduced this adoption guardianship leave. We're actually increasing today our compassionate leave as well, which is an easy one to do, but makes such a difference to people. So we have travel days on either side of our compassionate leave, so people can go home without having to worry about that. We've also increased it so that if somebody particularly close to you, such as a spouse, passes away, your compassionate leave is a matter of weeks as opposed to days. We've introduced an employee wellbeing assistance program, which is anybody can sort of purchase that, and that's been incredibly well received. It offers financial support. People can get help designing exercise programs. They can have counselling sessions, and in fact, that has a teenage element to it as well. So your whole family can call into that. The parents can call in, the spouse can call in, your teens can call in.
It just
There's
goes
so
to
many
show
things you
it
can do.
And I would just say ask. Ask your employees what they need, what they want. You might not be able to wave a magic wand and make it all happen, but I think the very fact that you are curious and caring is an amazing, amazing place.
And
to
it can be
start.
done at scale. I think that's the other element. And back to your point earlier about cost. My view is some of these things, the benefits are priceless, and there is no cost to these.
Thank you both so much for raising the bar, raising the conversation, and I think hopefully inspiring a few, if not individuals, to maybe ask for more, but companies to do more. So thank you both so much joining us from Transguard Group. We've had Nick and Rachel in the studio, and we've also had a message saying, "Are you hiring?" So if you want, if you want to send me the word job, I'll send you their careers page.